What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to do with you guys. This is the Hinderer Ranch Bowie fixed blade. You guys know that I am a huge Hinderer fan, and I've also been on this this quest for the ideal fixed blade. I'm always on the quest for the ideal something, right? That's the thing that I'm always doing. But seriously, I'm constantly looking for an ideal fixed blade, and so obviously a Hinderer fixed blade is one that's going to catch my attention, especially a newer model. This knife was provided to me for review by my buddy Kyle. He was, I believe, in a live stream, and he was like, "Hey man," because I was talking about the Ranch Bowie, and it looked really cool. And he was like, "I've got one. You want to review it? It's brand new." So he hasn't even used it yet, and this has been babied, Kyle. It's got its own place, its own separate place on my desk here, where I've been keeping it, and it's been safely inside its sheath and box. So anyways, he offered to let me review it, and I said absolutely. I'd be pumped to do that. So thanks so much for doing that. Let's go ahead and get a measurement here. By the way, guys, I use pocket knives and folding knives way more often than fixed blades, so I'm limited as it is in terms of use for folding knives. I'm super limited with fixed blades. So this is going to be more of an overview than a review. It is not based on use, just to let everybody know. Overall length on the Ranch Bowie coming in at about 10.5 inches. It's a big boy, definitely. There's definitely bigger fixed blades out there, but this is a big outdoor fixed blade. Blade length from tip to scale coming in at just under 5.5 inches, about 5.4 inches. The actual cutting edge coming in at exactly 4.5 inches. This is a pretty generous choil up there, as Rick Hinderer is known for doing. Let me go ahead and give you guys an example of the action. Just kidding, it's a fixed blade. How about we weigh it real quick? Overall weight on this guy coming in at, hope that's accurate. I think everything, all the pressure's right on the scale. 10.62 ounces. Let's go again, different position. 10.58 ounces. So you're looking at a little over 10.5 ounces there. No surprise, given that we are looking at 187 thousandths, or if we can turn on my super high-tech and very expensive, haha, just kidding, calipers here. We'll go ahead and measure that. How are we? We want to do that, yeah. 0.19, just about 190 thousandths there, about 1/5 of an inch. Pretty thick blade stock, but that blade grind allows it to get really thin behind the edge. We'll talk about that here in a sec. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely a big outdoor knife. We didn't do size comparisons, did we? Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against some common folding knives. Up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. Rat 1 coming in at 8.6 inches overall. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? Spyderco PM2 coming in at 8.3 inches overall. You can see there it's dwarfing all these. Up against the Benchmade Griptilian. Benchmade Griptilian coming in at 8 inches overall. And last but not least, the Spyderco Para 3. Para 3 coming in at 7.25. Just because I've got some other fixed blades here that you guys might be somewhat familiar with. Let's do the Microtech Currahee. You guys saw this probably on my fixed blade discussion video. I don't know what the Currahee's coming in at overall length. And then I have the I'm sorry if I mispronounce it. It's a Chris Reeve Nyala. You can see there. So this is a large, to me, this is a large fixed blade. It's probably larger than what I would need it for. That doesn't mean that people can't get use out of it. Let's do the let's take a look at the anatomy here. So what we have is a very large Bowie style clip point blade. You don't have, I think in a lot of old school Bowie knives, you have belly that starts here and kind of swoops around. This belly's straight and then curves up towards the tip, much like Rick Hinderer's traditional Bowie grind on his folding knives. The finish on this particular one is his black stonewash finish, which is something that you're going to see on his folding knives. You can see here this is a Gen 6 Fatty Warncliffe. It's the exact same finish. Really, really nice. What's nice is you get the reflectivity and smoothness of the standard finish, the standard stonewash finish, but it's black in appearance, so it's not matte like you would see on a DLC or on his like battle black finish, which it is different, by the way. Rick Hinderer has black DLC, and then there's like a tumbled or a battle black, and then there's this black stonewash. They're all three different. The black stonewash is going to offer some slight reflectivity, but it is actually still a DLC. So it's my understanding that you actually do get some protective, some corrosion resistant qualities from it, which is nice because this is actually CPM 3V. But it's nice and smooth to the touch. If I had my eyes closed, I wouldn't know the difference between that finish and the standard stonewash finish. They honestly feel exactly the same. The other nice thing is that, not that any of his other finishes don't do this, but all the edges end up being nicely rounded off and very smooth. There's no sharp points on this. Even the jimping, as large and aggressive as it looks, and functional, it's very functional, it's not super aggressive on the hands. This is a nice finish. It's easy on the eyes, and it's easy, when you're feeling it. You can see light tumble marks in it. It's just really nice all the way around. The blade was ground perfectly symmetrically. Really, fit and finish is exactly what you'd expect from Hinderer all the way around on this knife. We'll show some other parts. The Hinderer logo on the black stonewash finish shows up silver rather than... I've shown this before. I'll show it just because I've got my other Hinderers here. Rather than kind of the bluish green that you see on the standard stonewash. I don't know if it's a different laser or if it's just a different result based on what finish is on the blade. No idea. I imagine it's for contrast because it shows up a little bit better. Same thing on the other side, USA CPM 3V. I love where Hinderer puts his logos. Not everybody likes the NASCAR style logos that he has on his blades, but they're up and they're shoved up here and out of the way. It's there and you know it when you see it, but it's not this big honking thing that's in your face. USA, CPM 3V, in a font that looks nice, but it's not extravagant. And then the Hinderer horse head with Hinderer knives on there. It just looks really, really nice. This thing comes to a screaming edge. It is very sharp. I almost cut myself in one of the videos that I did with this. I can't remember if it was the video where I was talking about blade shapes. Man, that thing gets really sharp on the edge. I mean, it's one of the things I was talking about. You have a pretty thick blade. 187 thousandths or a fifth of an inch is pretty thick. You can see this flat here carries out to about, 60% the length of the blade, 55%. So that's the flat, and then it immediately starts tapering, runs into this swedge on the clip point, and then immediately starts tapering towards the tip. The drop starts really high, and this is a pretty tall blade, so you can see it's got a long ways to go before it gets to that cutting edge, and it gets really sharp, really, really sharp on the edge. Absolutely perfect, by the way. No nicks, rolls, or anything like that. It is in CPM 3V, which I think is a very appropriate steel for this style of knife. You definitely have this heavy dutiness about it, right? 3V combined with the corrosion resistant qualities of this dark stonewash DLC. It's nice because CPM 3V is known for being unbelievably tough, and it's known to have really good edge stability, pretty good edge retention, but not be corrosion resistant at all. So having the additional protection from this DLC coating is awesome on a blade like this. The other nice thing is, despite it tapering down to a pretty fine tip, the fact that the blade is made out of 3V is going to help protect a tip like that over, say, a tip like the PM2's tip in something like S110V, which is going to make that tip both super thin and not strong at all. So what I'm saying is that the overall geometry of this blade shape is one that's not only going to be super functional, but extremely strong. If you are going to take a knife, if you're somebody who lives outside, maybe you actually live on a ranch where you spend a lot of time outside, whether you're needing to skin game or whether you're just out doing hard work out in the open. This is a blade that's going to be good at a lot of different types of things. The choil on this guy is incredibly generous. You can absolutely choke up whether you want to be here doing some more delicate work, which if this is your only knife and you need to do some delicate work, I guess, a smaller knife's obviously going to be better at that, but the fact that you can do it is nice. You can also choke up and get the entire meat of your finger up there and do some real heavy pressure cuts if you want to. It's one of those things where, yeah, it doesn't need to be there and you'd get a little bit more blade length if it wasn't there, but the blade's already gigantic. I'd rather have it than not have it. There's nothing in the cutting path So, you know, no matter what you're cutting or how you're cutting, this knife's not really going to get hung up on anything. The funny thing is this guard here kind of feels like the flipper tab that would be on a folding knife, but it is exactly that. It's basically just a hand guard to keep your hand from running up on the blade. You can see here how thick these scales are and where they swell. The scales are nicely rounded up here. It seems like there's meaningless thickness up here, and I suppose he could have tapered these down a little bit. And I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where the aesthetics of how he's got it here, I mean, if you made this massive bevel right here to get those to drop down towards the blade, yeah, it would create a situation where this way you wouldn't have what looks like unnecessary thickness, but from this angle it wouldn't look as nice. And truthfully, it's not really in the way of anything. You know, I mean, if you're going to drive this blade into something, the blade's going to stop here at maximum, you know, puncture, I guess is how I'm going to say that, regardless of whether this tapers or not. So functionally, I don't know that this is really a disadvantage. The thickness of the scales actually creates a feeling of absolute certainty in hand. This is a fantastic ergonomic experience. It's no secret that Rick Hinderer is really good at designing knives with excellent ergonomics, right? I'm not a master of this, but I think any person could pick this up and put it in their hands and go, oh yeah, that feels good. That mixed with the fact that it looks awesome, it looks as heavy as it is. You know, I always talk about, like a lot of people will say, oh man, that's a 10.5-ounce knife, that's a heavy knife, you know. Well, it's a fixed blade. So this is not something you're gonna carry in a workplace, you know, in any case. But what I'm trying to say is that whenever a knife, in my head, I'm thinking it's gonna weigh about this much. It doesn't really matter if it's heavy or light. If I'm right, if the knife looks like what it weighs, it feels good. You know, I mean, a lot of people really like lightweight knives and a lot of people really like heavyweight knives, but if a knife is substantially heavier than it looks in your mind, it's kind of a turnoff. Same thing with lightness. Like when I looked at the Benchmade Bug Out and then I picked it up, I already didn't really like how it looked because I don't like FRN, and then I picked it up and it was even lighter. Some people find that to be an enormous quality in a knife. I actually really don't like that. The Hinderer Ranch Bowie, I'm comparing a whole bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with the Ranch Bowie, so I'm sorry about that. But my point is that the Ranch Bowie looks like it weighs about what it feels, and that creates a good experience. That coupled with the knife just feeling out your hand in this awesome way. This really feels like I could take it out and use it. I don't have a personal use for this knife or a knife this big in general, but man, if I did, I would love using this. This is so comfortable, and honestly, I can imagine someone who really would be putting this knife to work, really appreciating the comfortability and the lock-in on this knife. I mean, a lot of times it's a great lock-in position, but it's one that would be uncomfortable over time. These are nicely contoured, nicely rounded off. This is micarta, super, super comfortable, really smooth to the touch. You have this nice, the palm swell mixed with how the butt rounds up here is going to hold your hands nicely in place. You're not forced into, I've got medium large hands. I don't feel forced into one position. It actually feels pretty free. I can kind of move my hands around a little bit. I can move back here if I need to do some light chopping or whatever. Wherever you want to put your hands is totally fine. This is nicely rounded off back here. I mean, everywhere, all the way around, it just looks great. You can see there, we've got, it's absolutely flush moving from the scales to the tang. Back here, you've got a nice open area, nice big lanyard hole if you want to put a lanyard back there. I'm sure a lot of people would. And then I really like how he's using the same screws on the handle as he is for the pivot on the XM18. It's actually not the exact same screw, but it looks the same. I wonder what it actually looks like. I wonder if it actually is. That's actually, you know what? Maybe it is. That would be interesting to know. I'm not going to take this apart, but if these screws are exactly the same as the Hinderer XM18, and that means that you would be able to buy those aftermarket pivot screws that fit. You know, I think the pivots are the same between the 3.5 inch, the 3.5 inch fatty, and the XM24, and there's a ton of aftermarket parts out there. If that's the case, it means you'd be able to buy separate pivot screws from the Hinderer parts market, wherever you choose to do that, and add them in here. I don't know that for sure. Somebody else will have to confirm that. I don't want to take this apart to find out, but I think that'd be neat because I can see people doing like, one bronze, one blue, you know, on both sides, or maybe all of them black or whatever, you know, all of them bronze would look awesome on this, definitely. But really, really beautiful all the way around. I mean, the fit and finish is great. Ergonomics are great. It feels durable. I mean, it's gonna be durable. Rick Hinderer is not known for doing an improper heat treat. He's been using 3V for quite a while, and I mean, he's obviously a master knife maker and a master at a lot of things beyond just ergonomics. This is an excellent execution of the knife. Let me show this. Not just the knife, you know, in terms of what's amazing here is not just the knife. The sheath is also beautiful. So he's got some professional Amish craftsmen in the area that do a lot of this type of, you know, like leather work, and I think some woodwork and things for him too. So this was actually made locally, and I don't know the exact name of the organization who does this kind of stuff for him, but these were made, each one of these made for the Ranch Boy. So when you buy the knife, you're actually going to get the sheath as well. And let me tell you something, this knife fits in, I mean, snug. You hear that? Let me push it in again. Snug. Oh, it's so nice. No play. This feels like just amazing quality. I don't know anything about leather working, but I don't think you have to be a professional to look at something like this and pick it up and go, that was really, really well made. This is just awesome. And it comes in and out of the sheath perfectly. It's so nice and smooth. And I appreciate that, you know? This is a $350 fixed blade. That's an expensive fixed blade. Those of you who decide that, number one, you need a fixed blade, and number two, you're ready to spend that kind of money on a fixed blade. I've handled a lot of fixed blades, nowhere near as many as folding knives, but let me tell you, if I had spent $350 on this and I got this, I would feel really good about it. And I know I am biased because I really like Hinderer's stuff, and there's not a lot that Hinderer's made that I don't like, but truthfully, I think this is a beautiful execution of a fixed blade, and it's absolutely capable. You know, yeah, you can get a lot out of a $50 fixed blade or a $100 fixed blade, but if you like those extra touches, you know, you want 3V, but you want it in this blade shape, you want that nice finish, you want everything to feel and look good, and you want it to function as good as it looks, this is $350 well spent. On top of that, you can get it in I believe I think there are different finishes. I think that there's stone washed, and there's definitely different scale colors. You've definitely got like the burgundy, and I think there's at least one other. I would imagine what's coming in the future for this is probably another steel choice. It wouldn't shock me at all if he decides to do some in CPM S35VN. It definitely won't shock me if he decides to do different blade shapes. I would love to see the sheep's foot blade in this exact configuration. I'd love to see the Spanto. I might buy that if he does the Spanto. I'd also kind of like to see the Wharncliffe and the Harpoon. Can you imagine this blade, this fixed blade, in a Wharncliffe configuration? Oh boy, that would be super cool. We'll go ahead and put my spear point up here too, so you can imagine. I don't have a Spanto on me currently, but any of his blade shapes I think would work just fine. The Skinner grind would work great too. It won't surprise me at all if he does that. I think there's a vintage version of this coming, which would be like, I've actually got a vintage model right here, even though it's got a tie scale on it. It'll be like the 01 tool steel, and then you'd have like this bronzy sort of hardware, things like that. And then it'll be a wood scale up front, which I've actually got in this package right here. It'd be something like this. Not great visuals there, sorry. But I believe he's doing something like that here soon. So that'll be really, really cool. But anyways, guys, we're approaching 20 minutes here. I think you guys get the point. I can absolutely recommend this knife. This is beautiful. It's everything that I expected it to be, and honestly, a little more. This is an excellent, excellent fixed blade. It's flawless all the way around. I can't find anything wrong with it, and it's an absolutely functional cutting tool that will serve anybody well in the appropriate setting. So if you're looking for an outdoor style, large fixed blade that's going to be doing a lot of different things, yeah, $350 well spent. So that's pretty much all I can say about this beautiful fixed blade, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do of course have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, then please subscribe to my channel, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.